Is there a San Andreas 2 coming out in theaters in 2025? There are some new rumors about it, and Alexandra Daddario has shared updates that suggest it might be happening. Plus, there's talk about whether Dwayne Johnson might be involved in the sequel. Here's everything we know so far about the upcoming film. Let's dive into it. In 2016, The Hollywood Reporter revealed that a sequel to San Andreas was officially in the works. According to their report, both New Line Cinema and Dwayne Johnson agreed to bring the disaster flick back for a second round. Neil Widener and Gavin James were set to write the script, while Beau Flynn, who produced the original, and Brad Peyton, the director, were also on board for the sequel. The original film stars, Carla Gugino, Alexandra Daddario, and Paul Giamatti, were reportedly returning alongside Johnson, promising to bring back the thrilling high-stakes action that made the first movie a hit. Dwayne Johnson, known for his enthusiasm and involvement in his projects, has hinted that there's a solid idea for the sequel. The original San Andreas centers around a rescue helicopter pilot played by Johnson, who must navigate a devastated Los Angeles and work with his estranged wife to rescue their daughter amidst a series of catastrophic seismic events. Despite receiving mixed reviews from critics, the film was a financial success, raking in $474 million worldwide against a $110 million budget. In a Sirius XM interview, Johnson shared that there's a promising idea for San Andreas 2 that's been discussed at $7 Productions, his own company. While he didn't reveal specific details about the new concept, he described it as great. However, he also mentioned that the major hurdle to moving forward with the sequel is scheduling. Given the extensive number of projects Johnson and his co-stars are involved in each year, it's understandable that fitting a sequel into their busy schedules can be challenging, especially if it's not at the top of New Line's priorities. Johnson's packed schedule includes his upcoming role in the live-action adaptation of Moana, which will be his next film. Given this, even if San Andreas 2 does eventually move forward, it might be quite some time before production actually begins. Fans hoping for a quick return to the seismic action might need to be patient, as Johnson's other commitments and the logistics of assembling the original cast and crew could delay the project. So, while the potential for a sequel exists and there's a great idea in place, the path to bringing San Andreas 2 to the big screen isn't as straightforward as one might hope. The combination of busy schedules and competing priorities means that fans may have to wait a little while before they see Johnson and his team back in action, battling another massive disaster. For now, all we can do is stay tuned and keep our fingers crossed that this exciting idea eventually comes to fruition. That said, on the Collider Ladies Night podcast, Alexandra Daddario, while promoting her latest projects, gave an update on San Andreas 2, which seems to have stalled in recent years. According to Daddario, a draft for the sequel was completed at one point, but she's not optimistic about its current status. Here's what she had to say. I remember discussing it a few years ago when I met with New Line. The executive I spoke with at that time is no longer there, but they did have a draft ready. As far as I know, it's not happening. It's been a while, and I don't think it's moving forward. It was in development at one point, but that's something that happens a lot in Hollywood. As Daddario mentions, it's pretty common for a sequel to get as far as having a draft script before losing steam. Sometimes projects can sit in development limbo for years or even decades before being revived as a legacy sequel. For San Andreas 2, it seems that while a draft was completed, it didn't capture enough interest from Warner Brothers and New Line to move forward. Paul Giamatti, another star of the original film, also weighed in on the status of the sequel after almost a decade of uncertainty. During a chat with Josh Horowitz on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Giamatti shared that he's heard occasional rumors about San Andreas 2, but hasn't seen any real progress. Here's what he had to say. It's been talked about, it's true. You're right though, and every now and then I hear somebody bring it up and they're like, My agent will say, but you know, San Andreas 2, they're talking about that. And I'll be like, really? Then nothing happens. The idea of a San Andreas sequel is still alive and kicking, at least according to producer Hiram Garcia. Speaking with Screen Rant, Garcia revealed that they have ideas for continuing the story. He explained that both New Line and Warner Brothers have always been interested in a sequel. Garcia said they're working on figuring out how to keep the disaster movie vibe fresh and exciting, taking inspiration from the genre's big names like Roland Emmerich. Emmerich is known for his epic disaster films such as 2012, The Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day, Godzilla, and the upcoming Moonfall. Garcia mentioned, "We actually have ideas. We're working on something there about how we can continue that story. So look, disaster movies are so much fun, and that was a great concept. Our friend Beau Flynn had come up with the idea of being like, you know what, you love disaster movies, and I would love the idea to do something based around a giant earthquake in the San Andreas Fault. So New Line and Warner's have always wanted a sequel to that, so we've been working hard to figure out how we could crack something in that space. But we'd love to be able to continue telling the story in that world, and I agree with you, there's something to just the big cataclysmic. I feel like Roland Emmerich is the master of that. He's saying that no one wants to destroy the world more, but we'd like to try and take a couple little pieces of it and see what we can blow up as well." So while progress on San Andreas 2 has been slow and the project has faced many ups and downs, Garcia's comments suggest there's still hope for fans eager to see more of the seismic action. It seems the team is dedicated to finding a way to bring disaster thrills back to the big screen. If San Andreas 2 were to happen, here are some potential directions the story could take, building on the foundation of the original film. The sequel could explore the aftermath of an even larger and more devastating earthquake than the original, possibly triggering a series of global seismic events. The story might follow Dwayne Johnson's character Ray Gaines and his family as they navigate the new challenges posed by this catastrophe, which could include massive tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and widespread destruction beyond the San Andreas Fault. Ray Gaines and his family could face personal stakes as they deal with the fallout from the original disaster. They might encounter new threats, such as a powerful corporation exploiting the disaster for profit or a rogue scientist creating artificial seismic events. The sequel could delve deeper into the personal and emotional impact of these disasters on the characters. Instead of a direct sequel, the film could serve as a prequel or origin story, exploring the events leading up to the original disaster. It could provide background on the San Andreas Fault and the science behind it, possibly introducing new characters and showing how the fault line's potential was known but not fully understood. In any case, a sequel to San Andreas would likely aim to top the original film's spectacular disaster sequences, while adding new layers to the characters and story. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.